addressed, and I'd like confirmation that this is going to be rectified. According to Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 68, it specifically states that a school committee may assess fees to the transported students up to an amount sufficient to cover costs. As we know, these numbers aren't going to equal out, so I don't know who you have to get with to reach them, but the 225 is obviously over. And it also states that no student eligible for free or reduced lunch shall be required to pay the fee. Myself, I've got confirmation that from Michelle Raposa stating that, I would be reimbursed and that she was not aware of such a law. She thought it was district policy, and she corrected it for myself. I just want to ensure that it's done for the rest of the constituents in the town.
Okay, thank you. We are taking transportation up later in the agenda, so I think it's appropriate that, we heard your concern at this point. Because it concerns something that we do have upcoming, we'll discuss it a little bit more in depth. I do have your email actually in front of me as well. I'm just looking at it, and I had forwarded it to Michelle to make sure that she had it, because I know she wasn't on the email initially. No comments at this point, right? We'll take that up later. Is there anybody else that would like to speak at this point?
Yes, Ms. Chairwoman. I'd like to just ask for a moment of silence for the Americans that were lost in the past 24 hours, and hope that our students pick up their world history books and current events books, because there's stories to be told. So I would like a moment of silence.
Absolutely. I think that's appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
You're very welcome. Is there anything else? Okay. Seeing none, moving to the informational agenda. Dr. Colley on enrollment update.
You have the enrollment figures. Right now, as of June, we had 1,765, the number of kids. We're tracking a few students off. I actually got some new figures this morning. Let's see. Temporary enrollment, we have about 189 at the Macomber, including the preschool, 525 at the elementary school, and middle school, 549, Westport High, 426, for a total of about 1,691. That's still way low from a couple of years ago, from 2010, where we had about 1,800 kids. So it's still down. That trend remains. It's not going down anymore, but at least hopefully it'll hold steady for now. There was some loss of population in the whole southeast region, probably due to the economy in the last few years, and we haven't been exempt from that, I think. So that's where we are.
When will we have the enrollment numbers for the current school year?
Those were the ones, the preliminary numbers. Usually we solidify the numbers October 1st, but I figured people wanted to know where we are.
So these numbers are?
Preliminary numbers. I mean, we still have a few kids registering. I had a few kids that are coming back from homeschooling, a few that supposedly are going to homeschool, so we still don't know.
Anybody have anything for that?
Yeah, I have one question. I know we're taking up our special education department later in the agenda. I've often wondered if we could include a line item on the enrollment indicating the number of students in special education. The enrollment numbers that are here list total enrollment, but we could. I'd like to see a subset of our enrollment of special education, because it
we can do that.
Would be helpful for analysis. So, thank you.
Also, what is at this point our preliminary numbers for our 9th grade at the high school? Because obviously that's going to be a shift from what would have been grade 8 on this.
It's about 85 students.
Okay.
you had the big class coming into first grade, so that bumped up a little bit the elementary school. The middle school also had a class that was rather high, so that's also bumped up a little bit. And then high school is down a few students, and the MAC is down a few students.
But Diamond also took more students this year than they usually do, so there's a factor there that those students would have been turned away in recent years.
Yep.
And ended up here. What's the difference in the Diamond enrollment? Do we know?
That I don't
Okay,
know.
we'll get that
Michelle
after
may know.
next.
You ask the questions, we'll bring them at the
Okay.
next meeting.
Chair shifting. There was a
There you
little bit of
go.
that going on before.
They come up.
Any other questions on this? We're just in enrollment. And just to update, Dr. Colley said the grade 9 enrollment, which wouldn't have been accurate based on this because 8th grade is obviously not accurate, is around 85.
Do we have the preliminary pre-K numbers separate?
About 71.
Anything else on this? On to curriculum and professional development. Dr. Dargan? The chair has been shifted to you.
That's okay. It's perfect for me, too, as well.
Nobody
It's
seems to
been
be able to
waiting
get
for
it
me.
to pop up.
Well, good evening. Just a little bit of an update and overview. There's a lot happening in the area of curriculum and professional development. Some you've already heard a little bit about. Some that I'm going to share this evening is just an overview, and as the course of the school year unfolds, we'll be coming back before you with a few more updates. Many of our staff participated this summer in professional development, which really our staff went above and beyond to better prepare themselves for our students coming back this school year. We had a week-long course in June looking at formative assessment just in mathematics. We trained teachers in a differentiated course in mathematics this summer. That was a week-long course. And I'd like to just say a special thanks to Julie Pacetto, Matt Girard for hosting and actually facilitating that course. We also ran day-long workshops in Achieve 3000. Nancy Tripp did a workshop for our middle school staff on informational text. We're working on PBIS, the Positive Behavioral Intervention Supports, over at the elementary school. We also had Ann Larson from Landmark come back, and we did some additional training on the language-based learner. In addition, as MCAS scores became known to us, our staff started to look at those students that were perhaps at risk, in needs of improvement, or in the warning category, and we have written our success plans for all of those children so that they have already started with their intervention blocks. I just gave you just an overview and update of the entitlement and allocation grants. Some of these grants are in application, meaning the department has received them, and we are just waiting word on approval of those grants. But there's a convoluted formula, and the formula, for the most part, is based on the number of free and reduced youngsters the year before. So thus, in turn, you'll see a little bit of our numbers have actually decreased. Not by much, but we are getting a little bit less money this year than we have in the past. Changes in the English Language Learner Program, which now the Department of Ed is calling RETEL. That's the Rethinking Equity and Teaching for English Language Learners. One of the big changes that's coming is, prior to the new change, we had select teachers who received additional training in various categories so that they would be able to work with our English language learners. The Department of Justice came into Massachusetts and said it's a violation of children's rights that all teachers need to have this sheltered English endorsement. So with that being said, we have until July 1st, 2016, to get all of our teachers, our core academic teachers, and our principals who supervise them trained. It is a 3-credit course. It will be at the state's expense, but it just means it's another one of those, when the state tells us it's time for the training, we have to make sure that our staff are ready, willing, and able to attend that. Also, what will happen is after July 1st, 2016, all who hold a license will have to maintain that license for a 5-year period. And in each license we hold, we have to get 150 PDPs in our primary license, and then 30 additional PDPs in our secondary licenses. In that primary license, 15 of our PDPs will now need to be in English language learners instruction, and 15 of those PDPs will be working with special needs youngsters as well. So those are some changes that are coming down the pike. Just as point of reference, the department has put out an 8-page document with the 351 school districts in the Commonwealth and Westport. Because of our low incident number of ELL students, we're actually on page 7 of that document, so I'm not sure when the state will actually provide the training for us. WEDER is another change. WEDER stands for the World Class Instructional Design and Assessment. Prior to Massachusetts joining this consortium, we had our own equivalent to MCAS for youngsters who were new to this country or new to learning the English language, and that was, we were giving them the MEPAs and the MELA-Os. The state has now joined this consortium, and starting this January, on an annual basis, youngsters will be provided an assessment called Access, and that's for assessing comprehension and communication in English, state to state, for English language learners. It will be a more concise but more precise type of assessment. It'll be quicker to administer, and it will only be on an annual basis. We have at this point in time 1.7 ELL teacher in the district, and he did attend a 2-day training over the summer. And as more trainings become available, we'll make sure our building administrators and staff in the buildings also receive that training. PARC, you heard a little bit about this last spring. That's the Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers. Massachusetts is moving away from MCAS, and in the year 2014-2015 expects that we, like the other 22 states part of this consortium, will use PARC assessments as our new testing administration. They did release some prototypes as well as test items to give us a glimmer of what those tests may look like. So I've summed it up in a few pages here for you, but I just want to highlight in English language arts and literacy, there'll be a literature task, there'll be a narrative task, and also a big one is the research simulation task. So much more opportunities for our kids to have authentic type assessments. In the area of mathematics, they're going to look at a balance of conceptual understanding, fluency, and application. There'll be an opportunity for kids to provide written arguments and justifications, critiquing, reasoning, or precision in mathematical statements. They'll also have an opportunity to demonstrate competency in modeling and application in real-world scenarios. As I shared with you last spring, at the secondary level, grade 6 and above, it's expected that these will be computer-based type assessments, as well as the state tells us that they'll be coming out with a K-2 type assessment as well as a listening and speaking assessment that will be scored at the local level. So just a little bit about what's up and coming, and as soon as we hear a preview of these types of assessments, we're putting them into the hands of our teachers so that our students can get as much exposure to the new types of assessments as early as possible. The educator evaluation system is in process now. We have done a 2-day training with the staff. August 28th and 29th. I thank several members of the school committee who came by to support the training. Special thanks to Andrew Cottrell and Laura Honahan. We had 2 teachers from the WFT actually model what self-assessment should look like, as well as goal setting. And so we feel that we have provided adequate training for our staff at this point in time. Our administrators have started their instructional rounds. Observation and feedback are being provided to the staff, and we're just about ready to formulate those educator plans. And then, because we needed to provide, as part of our Title II grant and Race to the Top, we needed to provide a training schedule. We put it together sooner rather than later. And you can see, really, we've been working on this actually prior to January. However, January is when we really started to formulate, inviting many other parties, such as district leaders, union administration, school committee chair, et cetera, to be part of the training. We've done a lot of training in August, and now in September, Beth's going to talk a little bit about the processes on how we store and how we handle some of this data and some of this documentation. But it's an exciting time in the Commonwealth, and it's an exciting time here in the Westport Community Schools. There's a lot happening, and during the course of the year, we'll combine many times and try to showcase some of the things that are going on.
Eric?
Dr. Dargan, with the park, is your portfolio part of that also for special ed students?
As far as we know,